Did You Have To is a proud member of the But Why Though podcast community.
Welcome back to Did You Have To, the podcast where two bad bitches talk about anime. And here are your hosts, Kate and Nisha. Yeah! Nisha's quirk, stress ball. By internalizing her stress about the world being in chaos and crime, she converts that stress into a superpower, becoming a badass. Kate's quirk, waifu warrior. By just watching her favorite shows, she can manifest real or fictional characters into the real thing. They come to life and fight by her side. Not every character does it, though. She has to find the individual really hot. Yeah!
Hey everyone, welcome back to Did You Have To, the podcast where me and Nisha talk about anime stuff. I'm Kate.
And I'm Nisha.
And I didn't die in freezing temperatures in Texas.
Ooh, I'm so happy.
Got real close.
I was real scared there for a minute. I'm like, I don't know what to do to help.
So you sent me snacks of all kinds.
I mean, at that point, I was trying to figure out, can I send beer through the mail? Wow. Y'all can tell we're recording this late. Through the mail. But I didn't trust the post office. And I was like, I can send Kate a whole box of snacks instead. Honestly, I was real close to like, ooh, there's a Japanese snack crate. I could just send her that.
Ma'am!
I thought essentials are more important.
The crate you sent me had Rice Krispie treats and Twizzlers and
because
Airheads.
They're preservatives and I don't think the Pocky Sticks would do you much good.
They would bring me happiness.
This is true. I'll keep this in mind the next time I need to send you a care package of snacks.
Don't worry, it's Texas. I'm sure there'll be another time.
God.
No, but really, like, that's like every night at like 10 o'clock, Matt and I go downstairs, like it's snacky snack time. And we just grab something from the box and then take it up. So
that's so cute. Yay. I'm glad they bring you some kind of function and joy.
But what more than the Texas electrical grid, so.
Whew. But yeah, also, like, if y'all haven't picked up by now, that is why y'all probably have not heard from us much in the past few weeks. Kate's been trying not to die and get back to normalcy after freezing for a week.
Yeah, we do promise to eventually get back on schedule. That was our goal for 2021, was to stay on schedule.
We actually had a plan. I blame Texas. That's all I'm saying.
Who had a foot of snow in Austin on the 2021 bingo calendar? Bingo. Beyond that, who had our entire electrical grid failing?
Honestly, I don't know. I didn't think y'all would get that much snow. And then, like, I'm always remember. And again, because I'm in Illinois, we are built for like a lot of snow and we have the infrastructures in place to handle like plowing. But then, like, as soon as I thought about it, I'm like, oh God, they don't have like snow plows.
We have like two.
Y'all have two
if that.
For your whole place. And I'm just like, oh no, this is real bad. This is really, really bad.
Yeah.
So forgive us, but we're getting back on top of things,
yes. Y'all. And with that, what's our topic today, Nisha?
Blue flag. Finally. I'm so excited.
While throwing her arms into the air.
Just so excited.
But yeah, so we are an unofficial Yaoi podcast. And that also means we're an unofficial Shonen Ai podcast, which is, if you don't know, it is a genre that y'all need to know about. It's cute, wholesome, and all about the romance.
Mm-hmm.
So like we covered in our Yaoi 101 episode, Shonen Ai is the same thing in a way. So remember, boys love is the giant umbrella under which Yaoi and Shonen Ai are situated. Yaoi tends to be more adult and explicit, where Shonen Ai is essentially those cute, wholesome shoujo romances that you usually get, only it's between two male characters. Mm-hmm. So the cool thing about Shonen Ai, in my opinion at least, is that it gives younger readers the chance to read about same-sex relationships and explore them in a way that they wouldn't necessarily be able to in, the yaoi that we talk about a lot of the time. So, yeah.
Good. I feel like everyone needed a refresher because we did touch on Shonen Ai way back when we did the yaoi, our first yaoi 101 episode. So I mean, I usually need a refresher. So Kate is here with the yaoi and the shonen ai definitions and expertise.
PhD in boys love and himbos.
Yes, love to see it. um, so I guess let's just go ahead and dive into Blue Flag. It's his final year of high school, and Ichinose Taichi is acutely aware of the distance between himself and some of his classmates, his childhood friends. With Mita Toma, and Toma has grown so popular that Taichi keeps him at a distance. Then there's Futaba Kuze, a shy and clumsy girl that Taichi does his best to avoid. One day, he discovers that Futaba has a crush on Toma, and she tries to enlist Taishi's help since she's so timid and the two boys have been friends for years. But is it really possible for any of them to get closer to one another? Through the efforts of these three very different high schoolers, they try to change themselves, navigate relationships, and make the most of their last year in high school.
It's an adorable love quadrangle in which all of these people figure out their sexualities and like it. So I like Blue Flag for like a number of things. And I think one of them being first and foremost is like it's messy in a real way. So
Yes.
like I feel like when you read shoujo romances, like right now I am reading and reviewing Love Me Not. That shit is messy for the sake of mess. It makes
Right.
no sense. I don't think anybody would really be doing these things. And then when I picked up Blue Flag because you recommended it, I was blown away by not just how wholesome it was, but how the mess felt like common misunderstandings, not the giant manga misunderstandings that you get
Hmm.
usually in romances.
Right. It's very much not like, and we love Toradora here. Love it. But there's like the complicated love lines. I don't even know if you could say love triangles in Toradora. They're all over the place. Um, but my point is there's very like how that could be just very simply solved by just someone confessing their feelings and saying, "Hey, no, I actually like you." But instead it turns into this whole big thing, and it's 3 episodes long and it's a mess. And I love it, I don't care, but like where this one doesn't do that, this one is very, I feel like you said, it's more grounded. The
And
mess.
like the reasons, sorry,
Hmm. Oh no,
the
you're fine.
reason that there's that, because like you said, like I feel like the trope in a lot of romances and manga, even in the shonen romances, like it it's about characters refusing to tell each other things, but they don't really have
Hmm.
a reason not to tell each other.
Right.
Blue Flag, there's a very clear reason why Toma cannot tell Taichi. One, they're best friends.
Yep.
So that's admitting you have a crush on your best friend. And two, Toma's like the jock. He's like the top star of the school. And he's
Hmm.
surrounded by other boys who are filled with toxic masculinity and wouldn't necessarily understand him if he did that.
Hmm.
And then he just has to worry about like losing his best friend because of the crush, but also losing his best friend because of the homophobia that he knows exists in the circles that he's in. So like Toma
Hmm.
has a reason
There's
to
a legit
love his
reason.
friend from afar.
Right. There's a legit reason. It's not like we're watching this and saying just kiss. I'm sorry, not watching, reading, because this is a manga series. So
Man,
it's
I want it to be an anime so
oh,
bad.
even just the 12 episodes,
I would take
it
it.
it would be fine.
I would take it.
12 episodes. It's right there. They could do it. I love it so much. But yeah, no, I think you bring up an important point, because a lot of people might say like, well, why doesn't he just confess? Because he's the captain of the baseball team. Like we said, he doesn't have anyone that he has ever confided in except for the one person who can actually like relate to what he's going through. Her name is Masumi. She's best friends with Futaba. She's in love with Futaba, but Futaba's in love with Toma. But then her and Taishi start dating, so y'all see where the mess
Mhm.
begins and where it starts. But the problem is that Masumi and Toma, they just don't. They're not like confidants with one
Yeah.
another. Like they're truly the only other person that each other could like. You're in love with your best friend. and you can't tell them either, you think that they would at least bond over that, but no, it's more like because literally in chapter one, you don't see Toma. You think of Toma as just like this easygoing, very happy person, but when she brings it up to him, saying like, "You're the same as me. You're in love with your friend," and he just loses it, and it's just like, damn, I
Yeah,
didn't.
and it's weird because like part of me hated that dynamic at first because I was just like, you guys are so alone. Like, please lean on each other, be there for each other.
Yeah,
But I think Kaito or Kato, I don't is it Kato or Kaito? Is it
I've heard Kaido.
Kato? Kaito?
Kaito,
Okay.
yeah, Kaido.
Kaito. Yeah, like one of the things that I really love that Kaito does with their relationship is you begin to understand that the reason they're angry at each other and they don't want to talk to each other
Hmm.
because they see each other in each other and they don't know
Yes.
how to deal with that because neither one of them is actually ready to
Hmm.
confront that part of themselves. Because even while Masumi like is very like where Toma has taken himself to be his friend and doesn't matter if he's necessarily, I don't want to say absent from Taichi's life, but like,
Hmm.
you know, he's on the sidelines of Taichi's life. Masumi, because of the dynamic that female relationships, friendships have, she is very much invested in Futaba. She's
Yeah.
very much like, I'm going to protect her. I can't be with her, but I will make sure any guy who is with her is perfect. Like,
Hmm.
she has a very different way of looking at it, whereas Toma just kind of sits on the side.
Hmm.
And I think that both of them want what each other has in a way. Like I think Masumi wants the ability to detach from Futaba a little bit. And I
Hmm.
think Toma wants the ability to assert himself in Taichi's life more than he does.
Right. I agree. I think that is, and that's the tough thing because Masumi does have the like is able to like be closer. There's like parts where like when the four of them are hanging out, and I'm like, I see what you did there, Kaido. When you would like, it's the fireworks festival, and like you have Futaba leaning on Masumi's shoulder as they look up at the fireworks, and it's like, yeah, no, Toma wants to be able to have that closeness with
Mm-hmm.
what he wants that closeness. Obviously, he wants for Taishi to want to be able to have that closeness with him and to have that same desire.
Yeah.
But it's also that forget the fact that they're best friends. And like it's also the challenge of like rejection.
Yeah.
Like he knows that or not knows, he feels like he will be rejected. So it's like it's your best friend for your entire childhood who's been there for you throughout all your trauma. Yeah, and we did mention that because of course there's trauma in this series where
It's a manga. There has to be
it's a
trauma.
shonen ai romance manga. There has to be trauma. But like Toma's parents died when he was very young, and it's like Taishi was there for him at a very young age. And it's you can see where like when the series flashes back and like Toma basically has his when it's centered on him in some chapters, and you see like, oh, he's always been in love with him. This has never been just like something that he suddenly is like not sure of. Like, no, he's always been in love with him since
Yeah.
they were little kids. And it's just so sad the more you think about it because Toma is just like this big, he's just a baby himbo
He
who loves.
is. He is a baby himbo. He is gigantic.
Yep.
He is like super strong and he just wants to be happy and love people.
Hmm. And he just wants to be
And
himself more than
yeah.
anything. He wants
And that
freedom to be himself.
and I know we're bouncing all over the place, but I think that
Right.
like one of the most powerful things about this about Blue Flag, I think is for me at least, and the reason I think that like, you know, people, especially young people, like teens who are realizing that they're attracted to, you know, the same gender or something like that, is because um Kato directly confronts that, and like
Hmm.
how as you grow, because like he was close with Toma physically when they were kids because
Mm,
it's okay for little boys to hold each other's hands or lean on each other or be closer, and then as they got older it wasn't okay for that to
Mhm.
happen. So where Futaba, like you said, could lean on Masumi's shoulder, that can't ever happen between Taichi and Toma because of how society is and because of how people deem those restrictions between guys, whether it's platonic or intimate.
Right.
And what I really like is it's so subtly shown, but it's there.
Right.
It is watching Toma navigate a world that tells him that he can't be who he is in so many different small ways.
Mhm.
And then, like you said, there's this powerful scene with him and Taichi, and Taichi's like, I admire you because you're so put together and you're perfect. And Toma just breaks because he's not.
Mhm.
Like he is putting on a show for everybody because he's being what people want him to be. He's
Mhm.
supposed to be the star of the sports team. He's supposed to be, the jock. He's supposed to be the lady killer. He's supposed to be getting good grades and being fine, and there's nothing to worry about, when in reality he's fighting with himself. And I think that, like, that is a trope that can come across, like, it's a common trope that we see in romance, but the
Right.
way that it's handled in Blue Flag is one that just feels real and like lived in. Like, if you're ever somebody who's had to just put a smile on because you just need everybody else around you to
Mhm.
get by, like, it's real and it cuts real deep.
It does. Because when he has moments where the mask or like the facade kind of falls down or slips down, and it's usually when he's talking to Taishi. When he's just like, there's like a moment where he's in his room and he's just like, yeah, no, I just want to be free. I want to be free to love who I want to love. And it's like, I'm almost want to scream at Taichi. I'm like, how can you not tell he's talking about you?
Yeah.
How he's literally looking at you dead in the eye and you just don't get it. And I also understand that obviously he doesn't get it because he only sees him as his best friend. But anyways, yeah, I know, like you said, we are kind of bouncing around everywhere, but I mean, this is also, I feel like we're kind of touching on how good of a series Kaido has made,
Yeah.
because it's worth noting there's so many good things to love about this series when it comes to
Hmm.
like the characters, the character development, the art. I love it. I mean,
The art is gorgeous.
right, so detailed, especially because like he'll bounce, not he'll, sorry, Kaito, I don't, is just a pen name, so I don't know if they are a man or woman, but Kaito, so I'll refer to they just do an awesome job of like bouncing between like comedic to then very serious
Yeah.
and passionate, and like, and I applaud them so much, especially when there's like moments in certain chapters where like there is no dialogue, but you know how the
Mhm.
series, you know how the story is progressing through facial expressions.
Yes, I was gonna bring up specifically the moment on the train. So, like,
Yeah.
we as a reader, as that omnipotent force that understands everything that has happening with these sweet baby boys,
Hmm.
we know that Toma is in love with Taichi. It's been revealed to us. And the two of them get on a packed train, and he tells Taichi to grab onto him to like hold himself so he doesn't fall. And it's this moment where it's like a full page and there's no dialogue. It's just Toma reacting to Taichi physically holding on to his shirt. Like, it's adorable because one of the reasons I really like that that's done is because that's a trope that happens in romance, in heterosexual romances,
Right.
right? Like, the girl has to hold on to the guy to make sure that she's not leaving, and it's something that we see as romantic and Toma understands as romantic, but there's like this sadness to it too because Taichi doesn't see it that way. He just sees it as him with his friend. And
Hmm.
it's the way that, like, there's a stress for me where I just want Toma to be happy and I just want them to be together and live a happy
Hmm.
life. But then there's also the understanding that Kaido was trying to not necessarily go for the idyllics, but really just go for what people are going through,
Hmm.
what those situations are actually like. And I have to applaud them for that. And especially the way that like the art does it. I think Nisha, you've mentioned before, there's a splash page where each of
Oh,
the characters is covering a different sense, like hear no evil, see no evil, speak. And it correlates to what they're going through in the manga.
so good. Like so good. And it's like one of my favorite pages that I've seen next to the first volume cover, because you see the three of them standing and they're in a triangle. And you think that it's going to be, from based off the cover, that it's a love triangle between the two guys and the girl, and they're pining for the girl. But no, because if you notice Toma's direction and where he's looking at Taishi. And he's only looking at Taishi. And that tells you everything about the series on
Yep.
the front page. But like with that splash page with like that, I'm just like, oh, this is good. This is just, and it's so simple. It's just so good and simple.
And I think there's also like one of the other things that I really like too. The covers of the individual volumes, which oh god, we haven't even said where you can buy it. So you can buy it from Viz. There are currently 6 volumes out now, and then the 7th is coming next month, I believe, in
Hmm.
April. Um, there's one cover, I think it's is it 5? Is it 5?
As you
Maybe
check
5
your
or 6.
library.
Yeah, I'm looking. Uh yeah, 5. It's in a classroom and Taichi is asleep on his desk and Toma is sitting like in the chair with the chair like backwards and he's just looking at him. And you can't really see their faces cuz they're in shadow, but it's such a sweet like moment and like just summary of who they are.
Hmm.
And it's one of those things where like the subtlety with which, but I don't think like any of this has to be subtle at all, that's not what I'm saying, but like the ability to convey emotion without any words, like you said, like that is something that is extremely powerful.
Hmm.
And it also picks up on like those little things, like when you're crushing on someone you look at them differently, you look
Yeah.
at them instead of looking at the crowd, like those small things that really make this
Hmm.
manga sing.
Because he only sees him. Like, and it's sad because, okay, so we've talked about Toma a little bit, so we can kind of talk about Taishi. The way that Toma looks at Taishi is the way that I wish that Taishi looked at himself. And I say
Yeah.
that because Taishi is just like, he has a lot of self-hate and like loathing for himself, where it's like he's so, because he looks at Toma and he's like, there's a lot of that he sees in Toma, and like you said, like he tells him to himself, to him, that I wish I was put together like you. I wish I was easygoing like you. I wouldn't have to worry about this, and like girls would like me and this and that. Because, and again, all of that is stemmed from like different things. Like back in middle school, there was a girl. She became friends with Taishi and he liked her, but he learned that she did that because she wanted to get closer to Toma, and that hurt him. And that's what kind of started the distance in their relationship as friends, where it's like, because of that, he's like, well, people are just going to try to get close to me to get close to him. And he kind of kept him at a distance when he realized how popular Toma was. But then there's also like even this whole situation with Futaba. It's kind of, it brought up a lot of that for him all over again. And then on top of that, it's just like he feels jealous of Toma. And it's like this thing of like, if you only knew how much this boy loves you,
Yeah.
and the fact that you look at him and you see jealousy, and it's not like this, and he's not like this spiteful, hateful
Mm-mm.
jealousy. It's this, I wish I was as confident as this. I
It's like
wish.
it's a longing in a different way.
Right.
Like uh Toma is longing for Taichi to notice him in a
Mhm.
romantic way. And Taichi is longing to be Toma, like to
Mhm.
have his stature and his confidence. And he doesn't realize that all of that's just a sham and
Right.
that Toma is like just trying to get by and is hiding like the largest part of himself. But
Mhm.
I think one of the things that I like about the series is like as it goes on, you see Taichi not necessarily begin to see himself that way,
Mm-hmm.
but to understand that that's how other people see him. And you get to see these moments where Taichi just wants to do what makes Toma happy.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't know that Toma likes him at this point, but he like Toma wants to hold his hand, so he holds his hand and he
Right?
doesn't think twice about it. It's just, what do I do to make Toma happy?
Mm-hmm.
And he's none the wiser, but it shows how like these feelings can build over time. And I also really like that, like, among all of them, there isn't this question of like, oh, this queer character is going to force this straight character to go bat for their team, which is a
Right.
trope that I hate.
Yeah.
It's the way that it's written is very much like, no, these are teens whose sexualities are awakening and none of them really know what they want, because even
Right.
Futaba doesn't know who she wants.
Right.
And in the end, and it's not like if she's debating be with Masumi or anything, but she's like, do I want Toma because of this? Do I want Taichi because of this? Oh, do I still only want Taichi because I want Toma? Like, it
Mm-hmm.
just shows how children,
Mm-hmm.
teens have to find out who they are and who they're attracted to in the long
Right.
run,
And it's very
regardless of gender.
right, regardless of gender. And like it just tells a very powerful coming of age story that, these characters feel real and they're just being allowed to explore their feelings and figure out things for themselves. And like we said, Toma is dealing with the barriers that he has and not being able to be himself how he truly wants to be. Taishi is truly trying to find his purpose and like what fulfillment he has, because I guess for the entirety of the series he's trying to figure out, what do I want to do when I grow up? Like, that's a constant
Yeah.
question he's asking himself. And then Futaba, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it took a few volumes for me to like her.
I still didn't like her.
I know.
She was annoying.
She was very annoying. I was mad when she cut off her hair because on a whim Taishi said, maybe if you cut all your hair off then he'll notice you. And she did it.
And homegirl said, hey, let's blonde this shit.
Looked like a hamster when she
So
came to
bad.
school the next day. It was just so terrible.
It's so bad.
Like, she went too short. She did not have to go that short.
Mm-mm.
Oh, but she's just very, I don't know. But then when you learn about her eventually in her situation with her family, and again, it's just that people be like kind of rag on her.
Yeah.
But the way you realize that what she thought she was attracted to Toma was that not that she was in love with him, but that she admired him. That's probably
Yeah, in like the same way that Taichi does. Like,
Mhm.
it's this weird thing where Toma, because like everybody sees Toma as like this bastion of self-confidence.
Mhm.
But in reality, he isn't. But Taichi wants it. And hamster bitch. Sorry.
Futaba. We just said her name.
Just said her name.
Futaba.
God, Futaba also wants that. Like, she is this small girl that nobody takes into consideration and ignores and thinks that needs to be protected, and she doesn't want that. She wants, it's really interesting because I don't remember exactly what she says, but she like tells Toma, like, I wish I was big as you. I wish I was
Mhm.
like, I wish I looked like you. I wish I was
I want to
you.
be right. I want to be
And
like you.
and it's such an interesting concept in that, like, sometimes you're attracted to people for things that you see in yourself, and other times, like, I don't know. I feel like the big takeaway for me was just like, people are drawn together because they know, like, that they can make you a better person sometimes.
Mhm.
And it's all a process of just figuring out who that is. And like also realizing that, like, hey, my hormones are raging, and sometimes I've never experienced love before. Am I mistaking this for another feeling?
That's that's honestly a great point. Like, because these are all 17 and 18-year-olds. Their hormones are absolutely raging.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah, for context, they're in their third year of high school, so their last year,
yeah.
because Japan only goes 3 years.
Because when it starts, it's like the beginning of their second year, and then the summer, then they go into their third year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I guess before we go any deeper, because I think if we go into the side characters like Masumi, because I did want to touch on her, but then there's some
Have
things
to talk about Masumi.
we have to, and there's spoilers with her, so we should let people know now are spoilers ahead. We're sorry in advance, but we're not sorry because this is our show and we do what we want here.
You said that so nicely.
That's years of customer service. I know how to say
The
something.
white lady voice and everything.
Let me. We're so sorry that we have to now go into spoilers, but this is our show and we do what we want. So skip ahead or go read the manga. You can pick it up at Viz Media.
Or through the Shonen Jump app.
Yes, or there. That's right, they're available there too. And now this sounds like a sponsored
Okay,
ad.
stop it. Please stop it.
Is it freaking you out?
I don't like it. I feel like my podcasting voice is like my white lady voice, but then when I podcast with you, it's just like, no, it's all gone. It's gonna come out. What is it? Oh yeah, we have an ad to do because this episode is sponsored by Yaoi Crate. This episode is actually sponsored by Yaoi Crate.
Yeah, Kate, you actually have a Yaoi Crate, right?
I did. I got the first one that they've shipped out. And if you're not familiar with Yaoi Crate is a subscription box that offers 100% officially licensed BL merch, manga, and doujin, with 4 to 6 items per box and exclusives that you can only get from Yaoi Crate. They're really fun. It's both adorable and sexy, which is kind of what you want your yaoi to be half the time anyway.
But yeah, so now that we are back and you guys have heard about the wonderful business that is Yaoi Crate, let's go ahead and get into these spoilers. So, well, first off, let's talk about Masumi, because hands down, next to Toma, my favorite character is Masumi.
Really?
Yeah. After Toma, Masumi, and then it's Mami. Like
Mommy is really good. Like
Mommy is
she's like one of the she doesn't have where she shows up hits.
It does, because and how she shows up when she's first introduced, and then when she really shows up.
Okay, Masumi first.
Masumi first. Okay, so with Masumi, I would say she is like her and Toma are two sides of the same coin. She's athletic, she's tall, she's beautiful, and people look at her and they assume that she has everything together. And that includes even dating and relationships.
Yeah.
So it's just, and I realize that's why I probably think she's one of my favorite characters, because of how much she reminds me of Toma and how much they reflect one another.
Yeah.
But it's how we are introduced Masumi going through her own stuff, and she doesn't have anyone to confide in. Like, she's truly alone, just like Toma, but it just feels like at least Toma seems able to sometimes let down his mask around Taichi.
I think it's different because Taichi isn't talking about Futaba all the time. Whereas Futaba is always fucking talking about Toma or Taichi. Like, girl does not stop talking about boys.
She doesn't. And that, that's why it takes a while to like her.
Yeah.
She comes around eventually, y'all. I'm not saying I hate her, but Kate,
it takes a come to Jesus moment with Toma in a fucking garden for it to happen, but you eventually get there.
You do get there. I think I got there for her when she decided finally that, like, I could go to a college that doesn't have to, where my boyfriend doesn't have to go.
No, it took for me. It took that fucking garden scene at the end. It
definitely took that garden. Yeah, it did take that garden scene, because that conversation had to be had. But back to Masumi. Yeah, she literally has no space to talk about her feelings, what she's going through, with anyone who's her age, and you eventually see that it's wearing on her. And I when I first read the chapter where she finally is able to open up about what she's been feeling, because for the longest in the series, like, she feels very much like a supporting character, whereas the other three feel like main characters. Masumi feels more supportive, but it's just random. It felt very random of how like we finally get the chapter where she gets to talk about what she's dealing with. And to our surprise, it's Toma's sister-in-law who is the person that is there to comfort and talk to her and reassure her of basically everything will be fine, because deep down she's so worried. Like I would say she's worried about how people will perceive her. That is something, while she also is very clear that she doesn't care what people think about her, but deep down she does care. Like that is a fear of hers. And it's just I don't know. You say something about her now, because there's just so much about her.
No, there's a lot about her. She is a character who like just reminds me how it would be about. She carries that weight. She
Mm,
carries that weight and she doesn't want to distribute it. She doesn't want anybody else in on it. It is her pain. It is her, she has to deal with it. And she has a very unhealthy way of holding it all in.
yeah.
And it's weird because Toma doesn't want Taichi to know because he doesn't want to lose Taichi.
Hmm.
But Masumi doesn't want Futaba to know because she doesn't want to hurt her.
Right.
And it's like this different weird thing where like Masumi is so focused on protecting the person that she cares about and keeping like Futaba almost in like this little cage,
Hmm.
and that she doesn't deviate and she deals with on her own like you said. But ultimately I really love the scenes with her and the sister-in-law or the sister,
Hmm.
because you get to see her be a kid asking for advice,
Yeah.
because out of everybody she's the one who knows what she wants. She's really forceful.
Hmm.
She's the mature one, but you don't, and everybody else kind of gets these moments of immaturity,
Hmm.
whereas that scene is the first time you really get to see her kind of just be a kid, I
Yeah.
guess.
Like she's
And I think that's why I
actually.
like it.
Hmm. Oh no, same. Because it's like she actually has an an adult person who can tell her that everything will be fine.
Yep.
That you don't have to worry about what other people will think of you or how they will perceive you. You are fine. You're not weird. Like she needed that reassurance. And the more I think about it, she needed that assurance from an adult. I think she needed that, especially from like a woman who was older and who has lived some life. Even though like I feel bad I can't remember her name, but Toma's sister-in-law is only 26 years old.
Yeah.
Like they're not her and his brother are not that old. They're
Yeah.
like 10 years older or like a few years older than them. So it's just like they they haven't had that much life to live, but they still have like they're adults and they can at least provide some reassurance to her. And it's like I'm glad you brought up the whole thing about like how Masumi does come off as the most mature one, where she's the one who will say things that make the most sense and will get right to the point. She's
Yeah.
also the one who's like has the most experience with dating and romance. So it's like people assume that like even Taishi, which I in the beginning I hate that he kind of has this presumptive attitude towards people.
Yeah.
But you know that he does that I think as a way to like put up barriers and like push people away, keep people away, but he has this presumptive attitude. But he's just like, and again, this was one of the conversations where I'm like, dude, how can you not tell what she's saying? Because she basically says, do you think relationships between a girl and a girl are weird? Like she said, I'm paraphrasing, but like she basically says, she asked that and he's just like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And it just goes over his head. And I don't know, as much as she oh sorry, and the other thing I wanted to mention about that conversation that she has with Toma's sister-in-law is that as much as that conversation was about her, the conversation was also about Toma.
Yep.
It was
It was
basic.
100% about
It
Toma.
was when, and I love Masumi about because she was probably trying to test and see how his family would react if they found out that Toma is gay.
Yeah.
And it's very cleverly done.
It's really well done. It's
Hmm.
really, really well done. Um, and it's also like really hard hitting because that same volume, I think it's the same volume,
Yeah,
volume
it is.
6,
Hmm.
you have Toma be outed in like one of the most painful ways, which brings us to Mommy,
Yeah.
who I think I really understood. So it's weird. Like when I think about like characters, not necessarily that I identified with, but like I could really see myself,
Mhm.
I guess. It was Mommy because so Mommy is like the extra popular girl.
Mhm.
She's the one all the guys want to date, and she's having this on again, off again thing. But she just wants to be friends with people. She doesn't want to have the pressure of having to be intimate or have a relationship with somebody.
Mhm.
And there's essentially they're having their cultural festival, and Mommy is in a room with Toma, and Mommy's entire thing for the cultural festival is putting makeup on people.
Yeah.
um and she puts makeup on Toma, and they have this conversation where she essentially says like, sometimes I wish you were a girl or I was a guy, because I could say I love you and it's just us being friends.
So
And
good.
I'm just like, girl, I get that. I cannot, like, as a girl who was only ever friends with dudes,
Mhm.
that was the worst thing.
Yep.
Not actually, like, no matter, and this is something that is still true today. Like, no matter how, or I guess it's more true in high school, whatever. But like, no matter how close you get to one of them,
Mhm.
it makes it hard because there's this distance where either
Yeah.
they see you as somebody to be in a relationship with,
Mhm.
or everybody around you thinks so. And it
Yeah.
makes it hard to maintain relationships either with girls or guys because
Mhm.
they can't break that. They can't get into the idea that like things would be platonic.
Mhm.
And I think that it's a really powerful scene,
It
and it's
is.
a really good one.
Mhm. No, so no, I think it is one of the great scenes. I mean, even in that, I think even in that same chapter, there's when she has the argument with the guy who keeps pressuring her to date him, or like
Kanosuke or
Kinosuke.
Konosuke?
Yeah,
Konosuke?
I think
Yeah.
it's Kinosuke. Um, and it's frustrating because she does have she is able to we have a whole chapter dedicated to Mommy, which I love that we get, and like kind of getting a flashback to her, and when you realize like, no, she truly does just want to be friends, because when you're introduced to her, people just think that she is in love with Toma. And similar to what Kate had just said about teenagers and hormones and how we mistake our feelings for like love or lust, when maybe it's more like, hey, I actually admire you as a person and I want to be close to you as a friend. But people assumed that it was more so about her being in love with Toma. And it's but then you, as it goes on, even she realizes like, no, I don't want to be in a relationship with you. I want to be close with you because I really like you as a person, like as a human being. And that's how she just wants to be seen sometimes before men look at her as a sexual object, because
Yep.
she's the girl that gets bullied by other girls because she's friends with guys
Yep.
instead. And it's not like she doesn't want to be friends with girls, because she is friends with girls. It's just that some girls are jealous of her instead of like being okay with the fact that men and women can have platonic relationships. And I like what you said, because like I do agree, like there's that stupid saying that people say about like, yeah, men and women can't be friends because somebody has probably already thought about the other one in a romantic or sexual way. And I'm like, don't, like, you could, yes, the thought of like maybe being romantically attracted to someone can pop up with anyone,
Yeah.
with literally any of my friends. I could probably think like, do I have romantic feelings for this person? Yes or no? I don't know. Probably, maybe, no. Like those thoughts can come up naturally for anyone, but it's really stupid to use that argument to say that men and women can't be friends, because then you have issues where, somebody's partner does not want them to be
Hmm.
friends with the opposite sex because they feel threatened by that relationship. And like I recognize that, like, now I'm 29 years old. I mean, well, obviously we're both 29 years old, so we both have we've lived long enough to have like friendships. But it's like, once like your guy friends get married, and if you're not close with the wife, you're not
Yeah.
going to be you're probably not going to have that closer relationship unless they are like and I do have some relationships with my guy friends still, but like obviously like there's a respectful boundary there
Yeah.
where it's like I'm not going to send you a text about a funny meme I saw at 2 a.m. because that's what we did in college. Like you have to respect the boundary.
Well, and I also think like I like to push back on like the boundary a little bit. I think it's like the boundary is also relative to your person. Because like I
Right.
have one really good guy friend and
Mhm.
Matt knows him, he knows Matt. And like I'll text him at like 1 a.m. because I can't go to sleep and Matt's fucking snoring
Mhm.
and I'm bored. And it's but it's nothing. And a lot of that too, like for me at least,
Mhm.
a lot of that just comes from like building up trust in the other person. And
Yes.
like that happens after like Matt and I have been together for 7 years. I'm not going anywhere. Like,
Right.
and he knows that, and I know that, and the other person knows that. And
Mhm.
like we're friends, and that's just what happens because everybody needs friends. But I think when you're teenagers, there's this inability to like like it's not about building trust. And I wonder, I'd be interested to know if it's because like high school is a finite amount of time. So why am I going to build up this trust with somebody
Right.
or this kind of stuff when like we only have 3 years time, or I may not see
Mhm.
them on summer break, or like all those things. But I do think it's handled really, really well because like you
Mhm.
either way, like there are a hell of a lot of people that I have met who were like, "Oh, you're friends with a guy," or "Oh, he's friends with a girl."
Right.
It's stress,
It's
and
that's it.
it's
Because I will say like the guy friends that I do have and like they're and like them being in relationships, there has never been a concern about like them texting me or talking to me or like there. And I know like you said it comes with trust and like I can't obviously there's been examples where like in my life where like girlfriend like I have lost friendships because you're like my girlfriend doesn't want me talking to other girls.
yeah,
I'm like, well, I mean, okay, I guess there's 7 years of our friendship gone.
yep.
Bye. I don't know what to do with that. Like
Bye, Kay. Thanks.
like
Like,
thanks. I mean, I don't know how to reassure your girlfriend that there's nothing going on between us, but as much as like you said, like if the other person and like your partner and like and everyone else is involved can at least accept the fact that like men and women can be friends. It's
yeah.
possible.
And
Yeah.
also like this like when and I also always hate having those conversations because it like erases people who are bi, people who are attracted to the same gender. Because when you say that everybody is just driven on like this sexual or romantic impulse, it's like so
Hmm.
nobody can be friends. Like
Right.
nobody can be friends with anyone ever.
Right. What is
Like
friendship? Does friendship not exist anymore? Are we are not? Can I not have a relationship with anybody?
yeah.
Like at all? Because I mean, like me being a straight woman, I'm like, yeah, I don't understand why I can't have the same friendship that I have with, like, say, Kate, and then I can't have that with a man
Yeah.
because society is automatically going to look at that and say like a man and a woman should not be that close unless they are having sex with one
Mhm.
another. And I'm just like, but what? No, like no, it shouldn't just
Yeah.
be a man and a woman can't be friends because sexual desire will
Yeah.
come about.
Well, and I think that this all actually wraps up into one of the largest conversations of the series
Yeah.
after Toma is outed,
Yeah.
where the guy who outed him ends up saying some really homophobic shit
Yeah.
and like overall saying he can't be friends with him because he would want to be with him. And it's one of those things, and I think one of the characters says it like, why the fuck do you think somebody wants to be with you? Like
Right.
what is it about you that makes somebody want to have sex with you or be in like why? And
Mhm.
that is the big thing. Like not everybody is attracted to everyone. It's
Right.
dumb. But I do think to talk about it in detail, like the idea of attraction and sexuality, and it's something that even in that conversation, it's an uncomfortable conversation to read,
Mhm.
because it gets real hard, and Taichi is there
Right.
listening to the whole thing because Taichi's found out that Toma likes him,
Mhm.
and it it's uncomfortable, but also I knew guys who had convers like it's
Oh yeah. It's a
How do I explain
conversation.
it? Like it's real without being problematic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because I would say like reading the conversation that they're having just made me feel like this is a conversation I have heard from other guys. Like when it comes to them, like when someone talked about, oh, if somebody was gay and this and that. And it's just like, I've always thought that was the weirdest thing though. When they're like, we can't be friends with him no, anymore because he's going to want me. I'm like, he don't want you.
I know. What makes you think he wants you?
Right. He doesn't want you. Like, shoot, mommy doesn't even want you. What are you talking about?
I know.
Just and he's the worst. And then the other guy, he's kind of playing devil's advocate a little bit. But
So that was the only thing I hated.
I hated
Like
that so
I
much.
got it, but I hated it.
Right. Because he was doing it to try to make his points. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't like this. I don't, because
Intolerance shouldn't be advocated in any way.
yes.
Because there's a difference, like, because in Kaito tries to do this thing where he with the other guy as the devil's advocate, trying to be like, you have to understand, like, to find, what this person is and how it affects you because they're not who they said they were. It's like, no, it's not that deep.
It's not that deep. And it's because he's making it seem like Toma betrayed them.
Yeah.
When it's like, no, he didn't tell you something. Because, yeah, he could tell that Toma was keeping something from them. And if you're hurt because Toma didn't tell you about his deepest secret,
he didn't because y'all are acting this way.
right?
Like,
it's literally because y'all act like this. Why would he ever tell you? Because y'all are literally being homophobic. Or at least one of you's being homophobic, one of you's being a jerk.
yeah.
And I don't know, the whole I didn't like that argument, not argument, that I didn't like that part of the discussion because you're right, intolerance should not be justified or anything.
Yeah.
But I think that just goes to show another example of how Kaido does this amazing job of capturing real life conversations that we know people have had and then translating it into on the manga. So it's very touching.
I do want to talk about the outing scene though, just because it's fucking heartbreaking.
And then the not forced confession, but it feels forced because it was rushed. But yes, let's get into that.
Yeah, so mommy does his makeup. Our boy looks cute.
He looks
so adorable.
He's
I
so
love it so much. He gets his eyebrows filled.
He got lashes.
It's so good. He looks adorable. And Toma tells her, like, I can't love you because I've been in love with somebody like my entire life. And right then, like he says, we don't know because it doesn't say, but he said Taichi.
Yeah.
And Konosuke heard it. And fucking Konosuke's homophobic ass storms into the classroom and punches fucking Toma.
Which, I just have to say, why the fuck is it any of your business? And why did you feel the need to punch him?
Yeah.
Like that, I don't think we really get that addressed. And I don't know if it's because of Konosuke being jealous of Toma, which we know he's jealous because mommy has had a crush on Toma. But it's just very frustrating that he decides that, like, you said you're in love with a boy. I have to hit you now. What was I understand, like, he's just this example of like misogynistic and like homophobic.
Well, and it's weird too because like it's like the only equivalency I could think of, it's not even that equivalent, but in Horimiya, when I don't know if you've watched it, but the lead guy, Miyamura, ends up getting into a physical fight with redheaded guy because they both like Hori,
right?
And they duke it out and then they're fine after. This like isn't that, like it's just like this visceral reaction, and everybody says that he's wrong when they have that conversation later, but you don't really understand. And I wonder if Kaido did that to show that like he didn't really understand in a way. Like it was just a reaction. but it's awful. And like from that point, like rumors start to spread,
Yeah. And
and it's fucking hard.
it is hard because like the aftermath of it all is just like everyone is getting basically the baseball team finds out that is in a fight, so they rush over, and then like it's like the moment that Taishi finds out that Toma's been in a fight, it's just like it's just a lot of panels of faces, and then like the faces like break my heart so much because it's just like his heart drops. But then he finds out why the fight happened, and then he has people just in his face asking him about it, and I'm just like, y'all are so like, let the boys be. But of course, it's high school, so people are going to ask him like, "Hey, so the fight, what was that about?" But I'm like, obviously, all of you have heard this rumor by now, and it's kind of like at the beginning of that chapter, um, is doing the narrating. He's like, "I hate rumors."
And it's like, I do want to point out, like, this goes back to like how powerful like Kaido's designs are too, because
Hmm.
it is just a solid white page and it's just I hate rumors. And I'm like,
Yes,
oh, like this is like
it
it's
sets the tone.
minimal, but I'm like, oh, like this is
It sets it. It just like, oh,
yeah.
I know what this chapter's gonna be. But man, it's so good. And it's like so tragic and heartbreaking. And then it's like Taishi goes through people like asking him hearing things, people being like, well, I think Futaba should move out the way so Taishi and Toma can be together. I'm just like, this isn't an anime. You don't ship people in real life. I mean, obviously this is a manga and these are characters, but it's like that weird thing.
Stop doing Fujoshi things and stop trying to make these two boys be together. Let them do this at their own pace.
Right, that's it. Because this is a friendship, and it doesn't like this does not include any of you people with your outside opinion. And it's like Futaba hears that, Masumi hears that, like so. It's like they're all just hearing all these rumors and stuff about them, and it's frustrating. So then, towards the end of that chapter, that is when Toma is at least allowed to confess, but man, it hurts my heart so much.
It really hurts my heart and it makes me sad.
Because if
And it's one of those things where like because Taichi doesn't have a negative response to it, and you
right.
kind of learn that like had they been given the time, had Toma been given the time,
Hmm.
something probably could have happened. And like what sucks is like after that, Toma is like so scarred by the whole situation.
Yeah.
He doesn't confess to Taichi to confess to him and get something going. He confesses to Taichi for him to be the one to say it and
Yes.
get it out of the way. And then he fucking dips. And
Yeah.
then he just leaves
Yeah.
and starts working and doesn't go to school. And
Just
it's
drops
like
out of school.
this poor baby boy is just like, I can't do this anymore. And in a way, there are elements where it's kind of like Toma's hand was forced
Yeah.
and it's traumatic. Like,
Hmm.
I can't even imagine what it's like being outed like that in one a violent way
Yeah.
and such a prominent way.
Hmm.
And it sucks to see. And like the
Yeah.
rest of the series is just them trying to get back because Taichi realizes that he misses him, realizes that
Hmm.
like Toma was an important part of his life.
Right. Because as much as Taishi is trying to figure out his own feelings, he at least is like, I love Futaba, but I want Toma in my life. Because
Yeah.
a lot of it is like Futaba's like worried about like if she's in between them getting together. And it's just like also some of this is just like they're friends first and they're trying to like this their
Their
friendship
friendship
their
matters.
friendship matters. Like people who are just talking about them getting together, like obviously I want them to get together. But it's also like Taishi does not want to throw away his friendship with Toma if that meant because he like you said he doesn't have a negative reaction to what Toma says. We don't know how he reacted because like you said we just that ends. He's like I love you and then that's the end of the volume and then he's gone. And then, it's just it's a lot. So then what was I going to say? Oh, I was going to say, because what makes it so heartbreaking to me is because Toma never intended. He had came to terms with never confessing to Taishi. But you know what? If he had wanted to confess to him, that is not how he would wanted to have done it. And that
Yeah.
hurts. That makes me like want to fight everybody for him.
Yeah. And it's also one of those things too. I think like it carries a different weight because it is a same-sex relationship, and it's one of those
Mhm.
things where he's like my first love. I just have to be okay with not being with him. But I
Yeah.
think that that's something that everybody can understand, because I feel like most people have at least one person that they wanted to be with, and they're just kind of like, well, I accept I can't be with you, but I
Mhm.
still just want you in my life. Let's just be friends. And you just keep those feelings bottled up. And
Right.
to have that bottle just broken open in a way like that, it's just it's really traumatizing,
It's
and it sucks.
explosive. Like explosive, that's not a word.
Yeah.
You just exposed him and all of his
Yeah.
feelings and all it's mean. But yeah, oh, I will say though, something good that does come after this event is the conversation that Toma and his brother have finally.
Yeah.
And I will say, I don't know. I will let y'all read. I will let y'all read that because I like people to like go into that unless like you want to discuss it. But like, it's the conversation that I've wanted them to have for this
Yeah.
entire series. But yeah, I guess we can start to wrap up. But do we want to
Uh,
talk about the ending?
so I will say so while we've talked about a lot of this, it's 7 volumes, guys.
Yeah.
Like, go read it. There's still more for you to read.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that said, I do want to talk about the very, very ending. So if you don't want to hear this, fast forward, but I do want to talk about it because it is the only problem
The only problem I
I
have also.
have with this manga. Do you want to go first, Nisha?
Oh no, you first. I'll keep going.
In this beautiful coming of age story about finding yourself, finding love, finding connection, they're fucking first. Toma and Taichi don't kiss. They dip from each other's lives for a long period of time before they come back together.
Mm-hmm.
And all you see is fucking Toma's hand. That's all you see.
We
You
have
don't
to hope.
actually see. Yeah, we have to hope it's Toma. Like, you don't, like, there's no beautiful ending. And I think I've also been spoiled because like I've read like there's a yaoi called, I forget what it's called. It's from Tokyo Pop. But it's like it's completely shown an eye for the entire thing. Like, they kiss once, but there's
Mm-hmm.
like nothing else, and kiss at the very end. And then I get a bonus chapter where like they're intimate and you see that they're like starting their relationship, joining together and all that stuff. I'm spoiled by that.
Mm.
This doesn't have any of that. We don't know. It goes into their adult lives and we don't know. And to make matters worse, this title, I mean, and so I will say it is clearly a man's hand. So you
Mm-hmm.
know that Taichi is with a man, and everything points to Toma, and I think he has a ring, so you know that they're together.
Right.
But Masami is with the dude at the end. And and so the thing is I wouldn't have like finding out you're bi and that kind of stuff, like, that's important.
Mm-hmm.
But my problem with this isn't necessarily that she's with a guy, it's that she's with a guy after not once telling us that she was interested in dudes. Not once letting us know that like she was bi instead of, just a lesbian. And the reason that hurts me is because it feels like Masami's ending is her still putting on a fucking act.
Yes.
Like, she didn't have to be with Futaba, obviously, because Futaba's straight.
Mm-hmm.
But like, Masami deserved to have a moment where she could be who she was and forcing her to be with a dude, like,
A
it
dude,
makes me angry.
the dude literally looks like the man version of Futaba.
Yeah.
And that's what I think I'm more irritated by, is that like she just ends up with somebody who probably reminds her of Futaba and has similar qualities to them. Which I'm just like, okay, okay. Um, but why? Why make it some? Because was it only about her being in love with Futaba? Like I think I could understand that. Like, was she only ever attracted to Futaba? Like no other woman ever. It like, because I will say, when she's talking about like her sexuality and everything, she seems to only have eyes for Futaba. Like it's nothing to do with other women. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't think I like it as her just pining over Futaba all
Yeah.
those years. I
And
don't
I
like that.
and I also think it would be different too if we saw a payoff with Taichi and Toma, because for
Yeah.
me it feels like an editor came in and said you couldn't do the ending you wanted to do. That's
Yes.
what it feels like. It feels like the ending of like the Poison Ivy and Harley comic, where like they're
Mm,
both clearly in a relationship. It's been that for the whole like 6 issues, and now you literally make them both straight.
it
What?
does. It
What are you
does.
doing? Why did they not
Mm-hmm.
kiss? What is happening?
Yeah.
And that's what frustrates me. It, or even like the fact that like the same frustration we have with Cherry Magic, that they don't fucking kiss.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where it's like it feels like somebody in editing was like, you can't show them together.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was an age thing or whatever the hell, but I hate
Mm-hmm.
it.
Well,
And
because like the other thing that I hate about what happens to Masumi's character is like we don't see, and I'm not saying she had to confess to Futaba, or like that had that exchange, that the thing that went down with Toma and Taishi did not have to happen with them. But I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong because it's been a while, but I feel like there's a moment where Masumi is worried that Futaba has figured out her feelings for her.
Mhm.
And then it feels like that's just swept under the rug and ignored. And it's not addressed at all. So it's kind of like, okay, so what just happened? Like, did they talk? And I think it's just because I don't have closure on Masumi's chapter. I don't have closure on what happened to her after high school. Like, was she able to live the way that she wanted to live and be the person that she wanted to be and love who she wanted to love? Because yeah, if she's bi, that's that is one thing. But if it's that she decided that she is going that it's easier to live the life that others expect of her, I don't.
Yeah.
There's just not a clear answer there.
Yeah, and it is one thing too. Is like if we had gotten like another chapter of their adult lives, it would have like I could have understood doing a chapter where like you see Tolma and Taichi together and they're living the life that they want to, and then like
Hmm.
Masami has done like she hasn't been able to shake it and she is still stuck trying to perform for other people. And I think that like
Hmm.
those are both really real stories. And so I feel like it's a beautiful series and it's probably one of my favorite series of all time, but
Hmm.
that ending,
It
like, it
just
just doesn't feel enough. It doesn't sit right.
it doesn't sit right with me either. And I'm like, it's hard to say after like 7 volumes of a great story, great character development, like just awesome story. Like again, I still encourage people to check it out. But the ending feels like, like you said, someone said, hey, you can't do this, but try to do this instead. I mean, like, I guess the person who has the most closure of the series, that or confirmed closure, is Futaba. You at least get to you learn that like what happened to her and Taishi's relationship and that they did continue to date. But I'm also like, okay, so y'all
Yeah.
dated for 3 years. I'm like, Cool. But
I
when
don't
did
care
you and
about that.
I don't care. When did you and Toma get together?
Yeah.
When did Taishi realize that he had the same feelings for Toma? And was Toma waiting around all that time for Taishi? I'm just saying. I think there's a spinoff there. Was
Yeah,
Toma waiting?
I would take a Yaoi sequel to Blue Flag, please.
Please, Kaido.
That is just because this entire thing, so if you've read Yaoi, especially for friends to lovers or old friends, it's this entire thing. You have a moment, they fall out, and then they get older and they're working their salary jobs and they meet each other again and it happens. I would pay any amount of money to get the lost chapters from the moment he breaks up with Futaba to the moment that we see where he grabs his hand in the fucking subway station. Because I need to know.
I need to know so badly because, even a one shot, I'll take a one shot, please. I feel like I'm just begging on my knees right now to Kaido, if you're listening, or if someone at Jump can send a message to this person. I just want to know, how did Taishi and Toma end up together? Because
what was that conversation? Were they still in contact? Did they just text each other every now and then, hey, just checking in on you? Okay, and that's it, and that kept them going. Tell me.
There has to be more there because, yes, the way that things are resolved towards the end of the volume, their friendship is resolved, but at the same time, Toma just confessed to you.
Yeah.
There's still some things I feel like, and yes, I'm not saying that you can't go back to being friends, but I also feel like the dynamic might be a little different.
Yeah.
What is it like? I just want to know. And we're never going to know, are we?
No.
As much as but we still love this thing. I mean,
no, I still love it. I still think everybody should listen to it. If you're listening to this and you've read it already, please add us at DYHT_pod because I need to hear your feelings. This is an amazing manga. I cried. There were at least 2 other traumatic events that happened, and I cried during this book or during this series multiple times.
I was just literally waiting for you to message me. I'm like, oh, she got to that part. I'm like,
I started reading it one night and I was like, fuck it. Nisha said to read it. And I stayed up till 3 a.m. reading the entire thing.
She did. And then I was just like, well, welcome to Blue Flag Land.
And now I'm buying all the physical volumes because it's just so good.
It is so good. And I mean, as much as we just said we did not like some of the things that happened in the last the last chapter, I still encourage people to read it because it is a very well done coming of age story that isn't some convoluted romance like you would see in some anime and manga. And I think it's refreshing in the sense of me and you have talked about what is it? Watakoi and Sweat and Soap. How it's refreshing to see romances done that way. This is another one of those that I find to be a very refreshing take on a coming of age romance. And it's not some ridiculousness going on. But yeah, come yell about your feelings with us, because me and Kate have literally yelled at all of ours about this manga.
Yep. I guess any final thoughts, Nisha?
Just give us the last chapter. Give us the lost chapter, please. I just want to know how they got together. What was the first date like? Who proposed to who?
Oh my god!
Who proposed?
What if Taichi proposed to him? What if it was this long awkward thing because Toma just didn't know how to ask him because he was so traumatized by what happened before, and then Taichi ended up being the one that proposed to him and they got couple rings, and oh my god, I am so sad.
I'm crying.
It would be so good.
Damn you, Kate. We won't get to see how they moved in together. Oh, god damn it.
It's such a good series, guys.
It's so good. We're just gonna go write fan fiction now, if that's okay.
I know. So I need y'all to go read this. I need y'all to add us when you read it. I need y'all to at Viz, tell them that you read it, and also that you would also like the lost chapters.
Please.
But yeah, anyway, while Nisha dries her tears, you can find us at DYHT_pod on Twitter. But most importantly, if you want to hear us talk about sexy, smutty manga, head on over to patreon.com/BUTWHYTHO. For $1, you get access to our Patreon exclusive podcast where we talk all about smutty manga. We've talked Sweat and Soap, Titan's Bride, Anti-PT, some weird ass Naruto furry dojin that I made fun of Nisha for, and a whole lot more. At $10, you get access to their live video, which is our uncut edition, where we bulk record for about an hour to an hour and a half, and we leave in all the bloopers and moments, like the time that Matt walked in while I was describing tops and bottoms. So yeah, patreon.com/ButWhyThoughPC, and you can find me on Twitter at OMyMythRandier and on Instagram. Please follow me. My goal is to get to 800 this year. I'm trying really hard to build out a manga Instagram. It's not working, but I'm trying. Nisha?
Y'all should go follow her though. I love all the Dobby post. But yeah, y'all can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Nisha Plays. That's NEYSHAPLAYS. I will eventually do some more cosplays. I keep saying I will. And if I keep speaking it out into the universe, it'll happen. But if y'all do have any suggestions for me to do any cosplays, hit me up with those. But yeah, go yell at Viz and tell them that we need the last chapter of this series. And with that, will you guys weep buckets of tears like me and Kate did reading Blue Flag? Who do y'all think proposed, Toma or Taishi? And will you go read some other Shonen Ai after this? Find out next time on Did You Have To? Bye.
Did You Have To is co-produced by Kate Sanchez and Lanisha Campbell. Our intro is done by Dr. Emery Stephen Daniel. And our outro and intro music is by Benjamin Tissot, aka Ben Sound.